A little later and a lot shorter, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham gave lawmakers a week to sort out their hybrid session and get to work before delivering her State of the State address. Without guests and without pomp and circumstance, the speech clocked in at a hair over 26 minutes. Now, here to share some thoughts, our Line Opinion panel made up of former lawmakers. Joining us through the magic of Zoom is former state senator and line regular Dee Dee Feldman. Eric Griego is also a former state senator. He is also head of the New Mexico Working Families Party. Justine Fox Young is also with us. She's a former state rep and a local attorney. And finally, we've got former House Minority Whip and line regular Daniel Foley. Welcome all. Now, saying educators, staff, students, and parents had gone the extra mile and then the extra mile after that, the governor's big news was a February 8th target to bring students of all kinds back to the classroom. Let's first start with a couple of minutes of what the governor said about classroom education and the budget.
Teachers and school support staff all across New Mexico went the extra mile this year, and then the extra mile after that, too. I'm in awe of your commitment and your integrity, and I will say clearly, none of you, no educator, no school worker, should ever have to choose between your health and the students you serve. And that's why my administration has been methodical and tireless in working with superintendents, charter leaders, the Department of Health, the medical advisory team, and NEA and AFT to enhance the safety of school buildings and expand surveillance testing. There's no substitute for in-person learning. And there's no negotiating about the health and safety of students, families, and educators. And I believe the planning and hard work has paid off. And our state has developed a solid, epidemiologically sound plan for a safe expansion of in-person learning for all age groups, supported by union leadership. We will get this right, and we will move forward. And every school district in the state will be able to welcome all ages of students safely back to the classroom on February 8th. And that's not all. Yes, COVID has disrupted classrooms in New Mexico and indeed across our whole country. But dealing with the virus must not and will not derail our focus on improving outcomes in public education, on necessary long-term investments in family well-being and the health of school communities across the state. We will enact an equity-first budget for public education, ensuring money reaches students and schools in proportion to the socioeconomic needs of families in the community, laying the path to a public education system that truly delivers for students now and 100 years from now, no matter their zip code, their family circumstances, or the color of their skin.
You know, from a learning standpoint, I can't imagine anyone thinks this is a bad idea, but Eric Griego, I got to ask you, what about logistics? I mean, schools don't have to open. They're leaving it up to districts themselves. But, you know, the student population should be limited and small in some ways. Your first blush, is this going to work? Is it too early? I mean, is it thought out enough? What's your sense of it?
Well, I noticed APS is already raising some pretty major concerns. And my son goes through one of the charters here, and so they're going to kind of make their own decision. They're trying to wind their way through it. So I think it is quick, but anybody who has kids at home, and I say this as my wife being an educator, like, you know, there are real health concerns and safety concerns, but at the same time, if you have kids at home, I mean, everybody's eager to get them back in the classroom, and I know he's ready, and we have to do it safely, but I am hopeful that we can figure it out sooner rather than later. If they need a couple of weeks, I get it, but if it's a couple more months, I'm going to be really disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the parents' lament you're expressing there. Justine, you know, we're reliant on weekly testing and vaccination. APS says it had trouble even getting, you know, testing 10% of its staff when you think about it. And there's a lot of teachers out there saying they are very reluctant to get back in the classroom unless there is a vaccination. And the governor says the two unions are on board, but individually, like I said, you know, they're nervous about returning to the classroom. What should we be saying to teachers about this?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard anecdotally, teachers, parents, students are pretty shocked at this February 8th date. Mm-hmm. Everything that the governor delivered in that message seems pretty abstract to me. except for this precise date. And then, you've got this statement that the unions are on board and that they've worked everything out epidemiologically. But this is 4 days after, canceling a mass vaccination clinic for Rio Rancho teachers. So I guess I'm a little perplexed. It seems to me like the governor's punting and getting on the right side politically of the issue, and certainly taking the tack that, I don't think anybody disagrees. Kids need to get back for so many reasons. But where's the detailed plan, and how are vaccinations not a part of that plan? And so it's kind of easy to kick it to the locals and kick it to the teachers and say, well, the unions are on board. Now you guys figure it out. I don't think ultimately that's going to be a winning political position for her, because almost a year into this, they've been micromanaging every aspect of the response to the pandemic, and there needs to be a detailed plan. So I'm wondering why we're not hearing those details on exactly the vaccination schedule, what the testing regimen will look like, and why we are all to understand that everybody will be kept safe.
Senator Feldman, pick up on that if you would. It's a legit question. Vaccinations are out there, but they're not. These two things are clashing, it seems to me.
Yes. I think this is a classic case of mixed messaging. And I think that it surprised me, frankly. I think it can only be explained by the immense pressure that the governor was getting to reopen the schools. And a recent report from the CDC that said that schools were not a major source of community spread. So that perhaps gave a green light. But, the majority of our counties are still in the red district, and we do not have vaccinations for teachers. I think in spite of the union support, teachers have real questions about whether 25 to 50% of the workforce can be tested every week or every 2 weeks. That's a pretty high hurdle. And, and whether if they opt out of the system, they will be guaranteed a right to say, where they want to teach. I think this was one of the major drawbacks. Teachers who were older or who felt their health at issue were given the right to opt out, but then there were certain consequences to that.
That's right. Interesting points you brought up there. Daniel, if you could start with Dee Dee's point about teachers choosing not to get vaccinated and the right to do that, but I have some other questions about budget for you specifically. But I want to give you a chance on the vaccination deal as well.
Yeah, it's the $1 million, it's the age-old question, right? There's the anti-vaccination movement has grown in the last few years, become a lot more public, become a lot more, with the media access, with the celebrities that have gotten on board with, being against vaccinations. So, it's a huge question, right? There's people that have been talking about why do you keep my kid from getting an education if I'm opposed to these vaccinations? Now the tables have turned, right? Now you got teachers saying, hey, listen, I'm opposed to taking the vaccination. Why are you going to keep me from doing my job? So it's and it's one that's going to have to be addressed one way or the other. And I'm not sure if it's going to be addressed by politicians or by courts.
Interesting last sentence there. Hey, dude, I got something for you, though, about equity-based budgeting. We've talked about this at the table. You've been a part of this. It's clearly a nod to Yazzie Martinez. There's no doubt about that. But this is something you've long predicted, my friend, that the state would start to feel the price tag of compliance and then try to ease out of that burden at some point. I remember you being very strong on that way back. What's your sense of it now that we're getting a clearer picture of this?
Yeah, I think it's just going to get worse. I think, I had said from the very beginning that it wasn't a partisan issue, in my opinion, that I think for the governor and the legislature to back out of suing, being involved in telling that judge you don't have the right to dictate how we're going to create budgets is a slippery slope. And Look, there's no doubt that there's questions about the budgeting process. No one's denying that. We have these conversations. It always gets turned around that, if you say this, well, then you're automatically against that. I'm not saying that there's not a discrepancy. I'm saying that there is a separation of powers. And when you allow a judge to decide they're going to take over the budget process, I mean, where does it end, right? I mean, we have police safety issues. We have a problem with the police departments. We have a problem with National Guard. We got a problem with roads in New Mexico. I mean, what's next? What judge is going to come in and say, we're going to decide that we're going to fix this bridge in this county over that bridge in that county, or we're going to take over the prioritization of training the police departments or what we pay police officers? It just seems to be a slippery slope. And we talked about this from the beginning, and I see that lawsuit taking more and more of the position of the power from the legislative branch of creating a budget, funding a budget, and putting it in the hand of a single judge in court.
Interesting point there. Let's check out the governor on another situation. Economically, the governor was insistent that New Mexico has made progress towards diversifying its economy despite the pandemic.
2020 was not a lost year in our essential efforts to protect our natural environment and diversify our energy economy. In 2 years, we've doubled our new renewable resources over the 2 years before that. New Mexico will be home to the largest single wind complex in the nation, and I expect we will soon rank in the top 5 in the country for per capita wind energy production. We're driving down energy costs for you and reducing emissions. Property values are rising, and for the second straight year, more people are moving to New Mexico than moving out.
Justine, I got a question. Is the governor painting too rosy a picture there, or are we really headed in the right direction, as she says?
Well, it's a State of the State speech, right? So she doesn't want to talk about the bottom falling out of the budget, moratorium on oil and gas. You got to put a positive spin on it. And she's found one, I guess, but I don't think it's an accurate picture of the economy here. I mean, we've all been reading the reports that 10 times the number of kids are in shelters as of this time last year. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is drive downtown Albuquerque and see the parks are full of families and full of people. So people are falling off the bottom, and that needs to be addressed, and our government needs to be realistic and honest about how hard this pandemic has been on so many working people, so many people. So I understand. I think it's a little tone deaf right now to talk about renewable energy, and we're pushing forward, and we're going to have a new push on wind energy when it may be a priority, and she's certainly stuck to that from the beginning of her administration. But we have very serious issues just getting, food on people's plates right now, and very serious concerns about, what's going to happen to oil and gas in this state.
Well, that leads me to a point. Sorry to cut you off there, Justine. My fault. Senator Griego, the big news, of course, the last 10 days was now President Biden's moratorium on new oil and gas leasing. This has impacts for New Mexico. Can the governor get to where she wants to get, literally, with this moratorium in place, or if we take a hit on oil and gas here in our state?
Well, I think there was that great piece that we shared in that Capital and Maine piece about this resource curse that a lot of countries go through, where you heavily dependent on natural resource, fossil fuels, and what that does to your economy, your ability to do the things that I think Justine was talking about. Invest in the short term, it sort of fuels a lot of the social spending, as a lot of developing countries do. But in the long term, it just doesn't work, right? So you don't have a diverse economy. You don't invest in the kind of human capital that needs to develop a long-term competitive economy. So I think it's really kind of a wake-up call that we have every time we've had the opportunity to take some of the returns from the oil and gas industry and really double down on wind or solar. We haven't over the last 20 years, and all of those who fought that, I think have some culpability, right? So, Obama's new book talked about how much he got beat up on the whole cylinder scandal, right? Trying to really invest in this transition, and it's politically it's dangerous because people want to cling to this the current cash cow, right? The golden goose. But at the end of the day, you have to do it. And I think Biden is sort of forcing that decision now, and I think it is going to be hard for New Mexicans who are so dependent on this industry, and we're going to have to find. But I do agree, Gene, that it has to be more than renewable energy jobs. It has to be some other industries that are local and that people can feel like they have a place to land if they've been making their livelihood anywhere near the oil and gas industry.
That's a good point there. Senator Feldman, do pick up on that. We've got about a minute left. Can the governor get to her goals of being, fossil free without using the fossil fuel industry to get there, so to speak? It's the ultimate, dilemma.
Well, I think that she's trying to use this crisis as a turning point and change the narrative away from boom and bust into a different kind of economic development that's not just alternative energies, but she also highlighted outdoor recreation. She also mentioned cannabis legalization, which is a source of revenue. And she also mentioned, Netflix and high tech kind of enterprises. And I think the big news for me was the emphasis on broadband, asking for $200 million investment in broadband, and asking each legislator to devote 1/2 of their capital outlay to broadband expansion, which is really the key to economic development, especially in rural areas.
Senator, your timing is impeccable. Let's listen for the governor's take on broadband and that ask that Dee Feldman just mentioned.
At the same time, we will learn from the last year what was taken from us and what was exposed. The pandemic has reminded us that New Mexico cannot wait any longer to invest in reliable, high-speed internet for all in our state. I call on the legislature to commit at least half of their capital outlay allocations to new broadband investments, some $200 million. This is the most urgently needed infrastructure investment we can make as a state, and we must make it. Together, we must put in place this essential building block and avow our unequivocal faith in New Mexico's economic future.
Hey, Daniel Foley, $200 million, that's a big chunk of change around these parts. The governor, though, she pushed it to lawmakers, saying they should commit half their capital, as you heard, to broadband. Is she punting, or does that make sense, that everybody sort of shares equally?
Yeah, I mean, they've tried to change the way capital outlay is done, but when we were there, it was always divided a third, right? Mm-hmm. The governor got a third, the Senate got a third, and the House got a third. And I'll defer to my colleagues as well. I know that, it doesn't matter what party the governor was from. When they came sniffing around legislators' capital outlay, it was one way to unify the legislature to tell the governor it's time to move on and do something else. Yeah, I mean, I think, do we have a broadband issue? It's not just rural New Mexico, right? I mean, we got problems even right here in Albuquerque and Rio Rancho. Mm-hmm. But, I think this is a good example of kind of the consistent theme that we've had a problem with in New Mexico, whether it's talking about, renewable energy. Look, there's no doubt that we have a beautiful state. Now with telecommuting, more people are looking at moving to places like this. It's clear we have a ton of wind. We get sun, but the problem isn't, do we have these resources? The problem is we don't have the infrastructure to do anything with these resources, right? I mean, we have very little capability we can build all the wind turbines we want. We have very little capacity to get that energy to the market. Right. Same with solar, right? I mean, and it's the same with broadband. I mean, we're going to come up with this $200 million plan, and we got places in this state that don't have running water. We got places in the state that have no electricity whatsoever. And so,
let me get back to that question though about her ask, and let me ask Justine as well. This idea of asking legislators to give up half their capital outlay, how does that land? I've never been one. You guys are the elected folk. I'm in my imaginings, I'm thinking, it just must be a clunk of some sort to be asked this. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it's for the right ask, the process has evolved, as Dan says. I think people look at it a little bit differently, and if she can mobilize support, if it's something that has enough public support, maybe she can get there. I'm not sure this is the thing, but they're looking out there at all these kids who can't participate in their remote education, and I guess making the judgment that maybe this is the issue that gets them there. And capital outlay reform has been a long time coming, so maybe she can get it done this year. I think it's it's
Is
a
200
hard
is,
issue.
is 200 million, Justine, enough in your view? Your personal back of
have
the
no-
envelope?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
You know, and I haven't seen their calculations. Probably not. Almost certainly not. But I'm not educated enough on it to know what the systems will really cost. That's the other problem, is you take a big bite and you're really obligating yourself for, you know, how many more years? What is upkeep? What does a full rollout really cost?
Right. Good points there. Hey, Eric Riego, another thing that she did not mention, meaning our governor, overturning the law that criminalizes abortion for doctors performing that procedure. Now, strategy there, or is that a foregone conclusion that the legislature is going to repeal this law anyway? Why even bring it up?
Well, it's got a ton of momentum. As you know, a lot of the folks who got elected in both the House and the Senate, you know, that was a key issue in the race. And I know she's squarely and strongly behind it. It looks like it has momentum. I am a little surprised she didn't mention it, but maybe I think the focus of her speech was really, you know, around COVID and around the economy. She stayed pretty much on message to talk pretty narrowly about that. She talked about a couple of other issues, a little bit of healthcare, but really it was all COVID, all jobs, all economy. And I think any of these other more sort of controversial issues, I think, didn't really make it in. And I don't know if that was just an oversight or strategic, but maybe it is a foregone conclusion that it's got a lot of momentum in the Senate and the House.
I just got a couple seconds left. Eric, let me stay with you. I got all legislators here. How did that State of the State hit you? Just in a general, 26 minutes, it seemed like it was over before it started. I've never seen something so short. How did that strike you, having such brevity?
I thought it was great, short and sweet, because usually those things are painful, all the applause, and oh my gosh. So it was nice to see her be so focused. And, there's some things I wish would have been in there, but I think there were a lot of highlights, and it was clear that she was trying to balance this idea of we've got to really double down on making it through the pandemic, but also all of the aid that's going to go to small businesses and businesses of all sizes, and trying to sort of balance those two things, which I think is where this is. And, a couple of surprise announcements around schools, for example, I think. But it was a pretty focused speech. It was pretty narrow in scope.
Dee Dee, do you have a sense of that? We got about 30 seconds. How did that strike you, the brevity of the speech? Is that a model for later, maybe?
I hope so. I really hope so.
Right.
I think usually there's a lot of chaff that can be cut out of a State of the State speech, and she set a tone. Tone was one of healing, one of sympathy, and also one of hope. As I said earlier, I think she was trying to change the narrative and to try to pivot into a more hopeful future while acknowledging how very difficult it has been.
Good point, ending point there. Time for a break. We're back to talk COVID-19 vaccine efforts here and across the country when we return.